Max Johnson did enough to get the win, and the Texas A&M defense was dominant against the Arkansas Razorbacks.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Well, the Aggies improved to 2-0 in SEC play and 4-1 overall after a big win over the Arkansas Razorbacks. It was a game where, Texas A&M found a few ways to shoot themselves in the foot, and Max Johnson put the ball on the ground. You had a whole bunch of penalties I'm not a big fan of, but at the end of the day, these games against Arkansas at Jerry World are always weird ball games, and the Aggies continue time and time again to find a way to leave with the victory, as they did in this ball game. And that, to me, is all that matters. Of course, 34-22 win, a garbage time touchdown made the score look a little bit closer than it really was. And you look at these numbers, they had 174 yards of offense, Arkansas did, and 48 of those yards came from a garbage time touchdown pass from KJ Jefferson. This Texas A&M defense looked really good. They continued to bring pressure, as we talked about. You look at these numbers, I think they had 6 or 7 sacks. How many total sacks was it? 7 sacks. That's another game where you put up a ton of sacks. This is how you're going to continue to win football games, is getting that pressure. What I love about what Coach Durkin has done, he saw that things didn't go good it did not go well against Miami. They did not drop. They didn't have a good game plan. He fixed the game plan, and it has paid off in the 2 SEC games so far. The Aggies have looked really good. And, we've seen this. The SEC, I've talked about it, it does seem wide open. I mean, the teams, Georgia's on the ropes right now. You've seen, Alabama's not all that great. All the teams that we went into the season, Ole Miss is kind of Tennessee's kind of all the teams that we went into the season concerned about aren't all that terrifying, to where if Texas A&M continues to stack together victories, something special can happen this season. But, just everybody. Walter Nolan had a big game. I saw a lot of good plays from McKinley Jackson. Everybody on this defensive line had a good game. The linebackers looked good. Aside from the one big touchdown, which was in garbage time, the secondary was great. They held KJ Jefferson to almost nothing running the football. They held Rocket Sanders to not a great game from him in his return. The Aggies did everything they needed to. A couple big returns from Ainias Smith helped. Max Johnson threw a couple great balls. That one touchdown pass to Evan Stewart was beautiful. This was a big win for the Aggies. It's good to be 2-0 in SEC play. There's a lot of teams that are not. So this was a big win in a game where, it's just always, like we said, it always finds a way to be a weird ball game. The Aggies found a way to win. It's a really good feeling to enjoy the rest of all of our Saturdays. We're going to talk a little bit about what we saw from the offense and some other interesting notes from the game coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at Athletic Brewing Company. Athletic Brewing Company has completely changed the non-alcoholic beer game. They make non-alcoholic beers that actually taste good. Full flavor and well-crafted, just like a full-strength beer. Their brews are great tasting and award-winning and beat out full-strength beers in global competitions. They sent me a 6-pack. Incredible stuff. I was interested to try it. I wasn't sure what it was going to taste like. They sent me a 6-pack. Really good. I highly recommend heading over to athleticbrewing.com and checking out all they have to offer. You can find Athletic Brewing Company's non-alcoholic brews at a store near you or buy online at athleticbrewing.com. First-time customers can use code LOCKEDON to get 15% off your first online order. That's code LOCKEDON at checkout for 15% off at athleticbrewing.com. Near beer. Exclusions and conditions apply. Athletic Brewing Company. Fit for all times. So, there were a few plays on offense that I think the Aggies would like back. There were some interesting dynamics in the running back room. We did not see a ton of Ruben Owens. I'll be really interested to see the snaps. He ended up with Ruben Owens ended up with 2 carries, no receptions. It'll be interesting to see what his numbers are. He did not have as many snaps as he has previously. Le'Veon Moss, 17 for 107 on the ground. He had a lot of good plays, a 30-yard run in this game. Max Johnson showed off the wheels. He had a few good carries, looked good throwing the football. A lot of good throws from Max Johnson. He's able to push the ball downfield. There were a few plays where receivers didn't help him out. Moss dropped one. We saw some drops from Jade Walker. But all in all, this was just a good win. I knew that if the Aggies won this game, it wasn't going to be this clean, perfect game where we leave talking about how great it was. There was going to be stuff to be frustrated about. Of course, there were things to take away from this game and just kind of go, oh, man, I didn't like that. I didn't like this. But at the end of the day, the Aggies were able to leave with the victory. Like a lot of penalties I didn't like, a lot of false starts. I mean, there was a lot of false starts for the Aggies. But like I said, leaving this game with the wins all that mattered. We all knew it was going to be a weird one. It wasn't going to be pretty. There was going to be a lot of weird stuff going on in this football game. Texas A&M was able to hit the road, neutral site game, get a big win. Everybody in the national media liked Arkansas in this game. Nobody liked the Aggies. It really seemed like they had a chip on their shoulder in this ball game. Texas A&M came out and played a great football game, a great team win. Everything looked good. It was a little scary when Max Johnson got banged up on that fumble, but he was able to come back in the game, made some good throws to close out. The big punt return from Ainias Smith really kind of called it a game. That was a big play from him. So the Aggies just did a good job. There were a couple things that didn't go their way. They kept fighting and fighting and fighting, and they were able to leave with the win. And shout out to this defense. We'll talk more about the defense and how well they played on Monday's episode of Locked On Aggies, but this defense, deserves a round of applause. An absolutely electric performance from them. Held the Hogs to almost nothing on offense. Big win. Big win. You go into the game next week. Now the Crimson Tide are coming to town. 4-1 ball game. Could it be college game day? Perhaps. There's a lot of games up for it. It's going to be a big game. Can't wait to see how that pans out. But you got to feel a lot better hopping into that game 2-0 in SEC play. That is going to do it for this bonus reaction show of Locked On Aggies. Thank you so much for tuning in every single day. Big win for the Aggies. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Have a good time, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a great rest of your weekend, y'all.